The chains were cold, too cold for a living thing. They bit into Ilias Dorn's wrists as he stirred, disoriented, on the obsidian slab of the alien holding cell. His last memory was fire. A ship spiraling through the debris field. An emergency. Signal sent into the void. And then, nothing. Now, he was here. Somewhere deep in the territory of the Serati Dominion, a species humanity barely understood, known for war and whispered cruelty. But what struck Elias most wasn't the cell's eerie silence, or the glowing alien glyphs that pulsed with a rhythm not his own. It was her. The towering figure stood beyond the energy barrier, wrapped in silver-blue silk, her skin a glimmering lavender with bioluminescent veins tracing elegant paths over her cheeks and collarbones. Her crown was fused with her body, a living carapace that curved into horns above her head. Eyes like twin galaxies stared at him, unreadable. "I am Queen Varelia of Sereth," she said, her voice cool as starlight. "And you are the last of your kind recovered from the scorched vessel that dared breach our domain." Elias coughed, blood in his throat. "Lucky me." Her head tilted. "You are injured." The nurse suggested immediate biofusion treatment. I disagreed. He scoffed. "Why?" "Scared I'll survive and bite." For the first time, something shifted in our eyes. Curiosity, amusement. "No, human. I fear you might seduce." Elias's breath caught, not just from the pain but from her presence. She was a being born of cold regality and violent allure. Beautiful, terrible, untouchable. Still, the HFY streak in him couldn't be chained. Forever. "You're not the first alien queen to lock me up," he lied with a grin. She stepped closer to the barrier. "But perhaps the first to consider unlocking you, for reasons beyond war." He swallowed. The air between them hummed. A door hissed open behind her, and a figure entered. She was shorter, barely 6 feet tall, but unmistakably Serat. Her skin had a pinkish hue, her eyes glowing softly green. She wore white garb. "Medical. A nurse." "Queen." The nurse bowed. "The human's vitals are unstable. He needs internal fusion now, or he won't last till dawn." Varelia studied Elias. He didn't plead. He never did. But his body trembled. "Very well," she said. "Begin the treatment." "But he remains chained." The nurse hesitated. "My queen, the process involves neural contact, skin to skin." "Then do it," Varelia ordered. "And if he misbehaves, seduce him back into silence." The nurse blinked, startled, then nodded, as Varelia swept from the room, her gown trailing. Like moonlight, Elias finally exhaled. The nurse approached. "I'm Sarah," she said softly. "Don't move." Her hands hovered over his chest. With a hum, her palms glowed. Warmth spread through him like golden honey. Pain evaporated. He moaned despite himself. HFY Sci-Fi Erotica wasn't supposed to feel this intimate, this vulnerable. And yet Sarah climbed onto the slab beside him. "You need more direct contact," she whispered, pulling her robe slightly aside to reveal smooth, radiant skin. Her breast brushed his side, an intentional act of sensual nourishment, embedded in Serati biomedicine. "You people do medicine very differently," Elias rasped. She smiled gently. "You people don't usually survive this long." His heart pounded, not just from the alien warmth flooding him but from the raw, humbling mercy now radiating from a nurse he didn't deserve. Human-alien romance wasn't theoretical anymore. It was real, pulsing between their bodies. "Do you enjoy this?" he asked, voice rough. Sarah's cheeks flushed. "I shouldn't answer, but yes." He met her eyes. "Me too." For a moment, the room wasn't a prison. It was a sanctuary of sensation, trust, and flickering hope. A sacrificed hero romance born not from glory, but from ruin, chain, and healing touch. Power reversal romance had never felt so literal. Elias, once the warrior, was now at her mercy and craving it. The nurse leaned close, Rest now. You're not ready, but you will be. She's watching. He blinked. The Queen. Zero only nodded, her lips brushing his temple. The lights dimmed, and the barrier blinked red for the first time. Elias woke slowly, the kind of slow that only followed deep regenerative healing. His body no longer screamed in agony, but he was still chained, arms suspended just above the slab, legs shackled at the ankles. Yet something had changed. The nurse was gone. The Queen was not. Varelia sat in the corner of the chamber, her eyes locked on him like a bioluminescent predator. She wasn't speaking, just watching, assessing. The curve of her lips hinted at something darker than curiosity. You sleep like a creature that has known war, she said finally. And you watch like one who's caused it, Elias replied, her head inclined. True, I've conquered a dozen systems with less effort than it took to keep you alive, and yet you remain, defiant. Why? Because you saved me, he said, voice low. That changes the rules. She rose, stepping into the room without activating any doors or keys. The chains didn't react to her presence, but a pulse did. You mistake survival for mercy, she said, circling him. I did not save you for kindness. You are a curiosity, a relic, the last of your strike team. Perhaps the last of your command. I kept you alive because I wanted to know what would happen when the leash tightens. She stopped in front of him and raised a finger. It glowed, and with a gesture, the shackles loosened, not fully, but enough for him to lower his arms. Elias winced. You treat prisoners like pets. No, she murmured. I treat potential weapons like puzzles. But you are neither. The heat between them was impossible to ignore. He could feel it not just in the air, but in her gaze, in the way she watched every breath he took. Power reversal romance didn't begin in a bedroom. It began right here, in tension, in the shift of who holds control, and who gives it willingly. Elias sat up slightly, flexing his arms. What do you want from me? Varelia leaned down, so close her breath kissed his lips. I want to know why a species so weak, so breakable, can make even my strongest warriors tremble when they speak of Earth. He didn't flinch, because we fight like hell when we have nothing left. Her gaze softened for the first time. And when you have something left, when someone gives you back your breath, your strength, your skin, then we fight even harder for them. That hung in the air like smoke. She stepped back, but not far. The nurse said you responded to her methods intimately. Elias blinked. It was survival. You moaned her name. It was pain, he said, but the lie wilted between them. Varelia's smile was dangerous. Would you respond the same? To a queen? His pulse quickened. That depends. Would she touch like a nurse? Or like a woman who's never been told no? Her breath hitched almost imperceptibly. I have not been touched in centuries, she whispered. He didn't dare move. That sounds lonely. I do not feel loneliness, she snapped, but the tremor in her voice said otherwise. Only want, only hunger. Their gazes locked. Something invisible shifted again and, unraveling, he saw it now. The isolation behind her thorns, the ache behind her cruelty. She ruled an empire but had no one who looked at her like he did. Like a flame that refused to bow. You're not what I expected, she said. You expected me to beg. No, I expected you to break. Elias leaned forward, testing the chains. What if I bend instead? That was when she touched him. Not roughly, not dominantly. Just a single fingertip along his collarbone, alien warmth against human skin. His breath caught. He didn't know who moved first, but suddenly her lips brushed his. It wasn't hunger, it was testing, permission-seeking. When their mouths met again, it was slower, deeper. She tasted like cool stars and static fire. A kiss that wasn't conquest, but surrender. Hers or his, he couldn't yet tell. She pulled back. This changes everything. Yes, he said, voice rough. Now unchain me. But she smiled, wicked and wounded all at once. Not yet, human. Let desire grow in captivity. And just like that, she was gone. The barrier sealed with a hiss. Elias lay back, heart pounding. This wasn't just a human-alien romance. This was a sacrificed hero romance where love might cost more than chains. He was her captive, but for the first time, he wasn't sure who was truly bound. Elias lost track of time. In the Serati chamber where light had no sun, and warmth came from synthetic pulses through the walls, he measured the hours in glances and touches, not of time, but of her. Queen Virelia returned again, and again never. Predictable, never scheduled. Some visits were silent, her gaze sweeping over him like a weapon she hadn't yet unsheathed. Other times, she spoke. Always in riddles, always in control. But the fire between them had begun to smolder, and neither of them could pretend it hadn't been lit. One cycle. She entered while he was still half asleep, skin slick with heat from another regeneration phase. His body was healing fast now, thanks to Syrah's daily infusions. But the nurse was careful professional. The queen was not. She stood at the edge of his slab, closer than ever before, in a translucent royal sheath that shimmered like stardust. Her skin seemed to pulse with her heartbeat. Her crown glowed faintly at the temples. You dreamed of me, she said. Elias met her eyes. I'm not sure I stopped. She ran a finger along the metal edge of the bed. Do you always speak so boldly when you're shackled? I speak boldly when I'm seen. That made her still. Her eyes sharpened. And you believe I see you? He nodded. Not as a weapon, not as a weakness, just as a man. For a moment, Virelia's entire posture shifted. A sliver of vulnerability cracked the armor of her poise. Among the Serati, she said slowly, we are not permitted. Such softness, not in rule, not in war. But you, she leaned closer, you bring softness, like a blade. She placed her hand against his bare chest. Your heart races. Even now. It's you, Elias whispered. Is it fear? She asked. It's want. The words landed like a gravity surge. She climbed onto the edge of the slab, her body a heat he hadn't realized he was starving for. She didn't touch him again, not yet, but the weight of her nearness was overwhelming. Your kind confuses me, she murmured. You bleed so easily, yet refuse to kneel. You ache, and still reach for pleasure. Why? Because we know. We might die at any moment, Elias said. So we live harder. Love deeper. Love, she echoed. The words sounded foreign in her mouth, like a language she'd never dared speak. He nodded. You've conquered planets, Virelia, but have you ever let someone conquer you? Willingly. She stiffened, but didn't pull away. You mean surrender? No, he said. I mean connection. A human-alien romance. You touch my skin, but I want you to touch more than that. Her breath caught. I want to know what your laugh sounds like. What makes you feel safe? What you dream about when you sleep alone in your throne room. Virelia stared at him, visibly shaken. No one dares speak to me like this. Then they don't deserve you. In that moment, something broke open. She reached for the chain at his right wrist, fingers trembling, and released it. Then the other. He sat up, breath ragged. They were alone. No nurse, no guards. Just him and her, for the first time, equal. You're not afraid of me? She asked. I'm afraid of not touching you. That was when the dam burst. She moved forward, lips crashing into his. But this time it wasn't testing it, was claiming. Her hands ran over his back, across his scars, her body pressing into his with a hunger that had nothing to do with dominance, and everything to do with release. And Elias let go. He kissed her, like a storm, hands in her hair, breath mingling, heart thundering against hers. This wasn't a prisoner seducing a queen. This was two broken empires colliding. Their clothes didn't vanish, but they slipped, parted, lowered enough for skin to meet skin, for heat to pulse from her chest to his belly, for every touch to feel like history rewrote itself. She moaned his name, he whispered hers. This was no longer a question of politics. This was raw, sacred, dangerous pleasure wrapped in emotional fire. An intergalactic love story that began not with declarations, but with bodies trembling in the dark, craving salvation. And when it was over, when their foreheads touched, and their breathing slowed, Varelia shivered in his arms. I should not have done this, she whispered. It is forbidden. Then chain me again, he said softly, but don't pretend we didn't just share something real. She pulled away slowly, fingers brushing his lips. I will return, she said, and this time, it sounded like a promise. Elias lay back, unchained, not free, not yet, but for the first time, wanted. Elias stood unshackled now. The chains still hung like silver warnings from the slab's edges, but they no longer held him. What bound him now was something deeper. Her touch lingered on his skin like a brand, and his mind kept replaying the way her body had arched into his, not as a ruler, but as a woman undone. But her absence returned like cold wind through cracked glass. Varelia hadn't come for 2 full cycles. No nurse, no queen, only silence and the taste of memory. He paced the cell, heart on edge, wondering if what they'd shared had shattered something in her world that couldn't be put back together. Then the door hissed. Sira entered, her eyes flicking to the unbound restraints. Her lips tightened. So, she said carefully, she finally broke her own law. Elias turned to her. You knew. Sira nodded. Everyone in the palace knows. The queen never touches. She commands, from a distance. And yet her gaze scanned his chest, his neck, the faint glow along his skin left by Varelia's energy. You changed that. He walked closer. Where is she? In seclusion. It's Sarati custom. When a ruler loses emotional containment, she must isolate. She either reclaims her discipline, or surrenders to her bond. Surrenders, he echoed. Sira stepped closer. If she returns to you, she's no longer just a queen. She becomes something else, something forbidden to her bloodline. A lover, a life mate. He swallowed. And if she doesn't, then you're either executed quietly, or sent to a distant moon to vanish. Elias chuckled bitterly. Typical alien love story. Kiss a queen, wake up with a death sentence. But Sira didn't laugh. She placed a hand gently on his chest. You gave her something she didn't know she needed. That has power. That's what makes this HFY Sci-Fi Erotica. Not lust, but transformation. He blinked. You don't hate me for it. Sira smiled. No, I envy her. Elias reached for her hand, then helped me reach her. Sira hesitated. If I'm caught, then I'll take the blame, he said. She risked herself for me. Now it's my turn. That was the moment she truly saw him not as a curiosity or a species beneath hers, but as a man worthy of her queen's storm. Sira led him through back corridors, pulsing with violet light and humming with unseen energy. The palace was alive, a breathing organism of crystal and code. He walked barefoot, shirtless, raw-dotted. At last, they reached a chamber veiled in silver strands, a stasis cocoon, softly glowing. She's inside, Sira whispered. If she wakes, it must be because you called her. Sira stepped back, fading into the shadows. Elias stepped forward, heart hammering. He didn't speak at first. He just stood there, watching her float within the womb of energy, her crown dim, her body curled inward, vulnerable and beautiful. Then softly, barely a whisper, he said, Varelia. The cocoon pulsed. I don't care if you're a queen or a ghost, he said, louder now. You touched something in me I thought was long gone. I thought war erased this kind of want, this kind of hope. The cocoon shivered. I'm not your subject, he said. and I'll never be your prisoner again. But I will be your equal, if you'll let me. A single crack formed in the cocoon's shell, then another, and then she gasped. Varelia collapsed forward into his arms, soaked in biolight, trembling. Elias held her tightly, his arms wrapping around her like a shield. Her eyes fluttered open, wild with emotion. You shouldn't be here. I had to be, he whispered. You gave me life. Now I'm giving you a choice. She pressed her forehead to his. They'll dethrone me. Then, rule something new, he said, with me. A long pause. Then she kissed him. But this kiss was different. Not desire, not hunger. This was a promise forged in fire. A power reversal romance, reaching its final inversion where the ruler became the risk-taker, and the captive became the cause. They sank together to the floor, their bodies wrapping like vines drawn to warmth. Every kiss was healing, every caress defiance. I choose you, she whispered against his lips, and Elias believed her. Syrah stepped quietly back into the chamber. I'll prepare the escape path, she said softly. They'll hunt you both. Varelia turned to her. Then let them come. For the first time, Elias felt it. Not just freedom, but the beginning of an intergalactic love story that no empire could contain. The Sarati palace was no longer silent. Alarms pulsed like heartbeats through the crystalline walls, as red glyphs flared above every corridor. Elias and Varelia ran side by side, one barefoot human, in torn prisoner's clothes. The other, a radiant queen shedding centuries of rule with every step. Behind them, the hush of betrayal echoed, but ahead, freedom shimmered. This way, Syrah called, her robe flowing as she guided them through service tunnels, carved in violet stone. The escape pod's shield is still cloaked, but the launch window closes in 6 minutes. Elias gripped Varelia's hand tighter. They'll kill you for this. I am already dead to them, she said, voice calm. What breath I have left belongs to something more. He glanced at her, this alien woman who once commanded fleets, who had touched him with fire and tasted him with trembling lips, and now, because of love or something dangerous enough to feel like itchy, was throwing it all away. HFY Sci-Fi Erotica wasn't supposed to end like this, but then again, the human heart was built to rewrite endings. They burst into a final chamber low-ceilinged, humming with dormant energy. In the center, a sleek silver pod hovered just off the floor. Syrah activated the launch sequence. Coordinates are set for the Riven Belt. You'll be ghosts out there. Untraceable Varelia turned to her. Come with us. Syrah smiled sadly. This bond was never mine to claim, but thank you for showing our kind what it means to feel. She handed Elias a bundle, his old gear, somehow salvaged. Inside, he found his combat vest, his encoded dog tags, and something new, a small glowing crystal. For her, Syrah said. If the queen forgets her light, this will remind her. The moment was broken by a sudden explosion outside the chamber. They've found you, Syrah cried. Varelia looked at Elias. Go now. But Elias grabbed her waist and pulled her to the pod door. We go together. They climbed inside just as plasma bolts slammed into the chamber wall. The pod sealed, and a rising hum signaled activation. Outside, Syrah turned toward the guards, her arms raised. She would buy them moments, perhaps with her life. Inside the pod, Varelia was trembling. You could have left, she said. You could be safe. I didn't survive your chains just to lose you in the stars, Elias said, brushing her cheek. This is more than survival now. This is a sacrificed hero romance. You saved my body. I'm going to save your soul. Her lips parted, and he kissed her, not hungrily this time, but with slow, aching devotion. Every second they stole together felt infinite. Bodies pressed, skin whispering against skin, alien warmth fusing with human need. The pod lurched as it launched into the void, but neither of them broke away. Their moans were not cries of conquest but Communion. She clung to him, nails digging into his back, and he held her like a prayer answered too late, and yet perfectly on time. This wasn't domination. This wasn't rebellion. This was becoming. Hours later, the stars drifted lazily past. The viewports, the pod systems were quiet. Automatic piloting would guide them beyond the Serati net, toward exile, or rebirth. Varelia lay beside Elias, her head on his chest, her crown finally dimmed. "I've always believed emotion was weakness," she said. He ran his fingers through her hair. "That's because you never had someone strong enough to hold it with you." She looked up at him. "You think you're strong?" "I survived you," he said with a smile. She laughed, and it was real, unguarded, soft. It was the sound of a queen unraveling and a woman blooming. "I'm not sure what I am anymore," she whispered. He kissed her brow. "Then we figure it out together, one planet at a time." A silence fell between them, not empty, but full. It wasn't just a human-alien romance. It wasn't just alien nurse, erotica, or even power reversal romance. This was a bond forged through pain, mercy, rebellion, and touch. An intergalactic love. Story not written by fate but chosen. "We'll need a new name," she said. "They'll hunt a queen, but they might overlook two lovers traveling the fringe." Elias thought for a moment, then grinned. "How about passengers?" She smiled. "Then let's ride, passenger." Their fingers twined, and somewhere, in the quiet cradle of a stolen pod racing across the stars, humanity and Serati royalty dared to love, and it changed everything.